Hello, Mr. Grover.
Hey, Dr. Graham, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good.
Really hot day today.
Oh, I know, right? My girls were by the pool all afternoon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
After school work, of course.
That's great. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. And we have somebody who called in. I don't know. Is that a board member who called in?
Hi, it's me, Joy. I called in.
Okay. Hi, Joy.
Hi. I just have you on mute because Olivia's here, so.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for joining.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put you back on mute.
Thanks.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Hi, Sue.
Hello. Pardon my appearance. I was playing lifeguard till about 5 minutes ago.
It's a great gig.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So for those of you tuning in now, I'm going to move forward as if we have a room full of audience. As I imagine, this will be recorded by Mr. Gorton and then shared with the community. So I see it's 7 o'clock. Oh, somebody else is joining us. Okay, very good. All right, well, I think we'll get started. So I want to thank everybody for their interest in our adopted budget and for joining us, whether you're watching live or joining us through the video presentation. We're very pleased that you have an interest in our budget and that you are taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us this evening. I want to begin by just thanking all of the constituents who've worked so hard on developing this budget. That would include our administrators and our supervisors, our teachers and staff, and of course, working with Dr. Ruby Harris. She and I have met with every principal and every supervisor, and of course, we've had several presentations to the Board of Education. Our Board of Education has been very impressive during this budget adoption and planning. They are committed to this process. Each board member is active and asks excellent and thoughtful questions about expenditures and projected revenues. And together, we're very proud to present this budget this evening. So we always begin by talking about the mission of the Grand Island Central School District, and that is to inspire all of our students to achieve their highest potential through fostering academic excellence, personal growth, and social responsibility. Along with that mission, we have established budget goals that have been here for at least 4 years now. These budget goals are to work together to develop a long-term sustainable budget designed to provide the best diversified educational program for all of our students. Also, to retain, to the best of our ability, all of the community mandated student programs and activities that we currently have in the district, and as always, to do our very best to protect our fund balance. This time I'm going to turn over to Dr. Harris.
This provides a summary of the major expenditure areas. We like to usually look at things as salaries, anything that are cash payments, benefits, ERS, TRS, workers' comp, BOCES, anything that are larger expense areas, to just give a broad view of what's happening with expenditures. So what you'll see here is the budget to budget difference from the 1920 year to the 2020-21 year, as well as the percent difference off to the very right. So just to point out a couple, salaries is 2.23% increase. But then you also have areas that have decreased substantially to make sure we have a balanced budget, but are still able to meet program needs. So at the very bottom, you will see that the total budget to budget difference just in the major expenditure areas is 1.4 million. There is things you'll see in the upcoming slides that will show you how there were decreases in other areas to bring the balanced budget together. This allows for a more detailed breakdown of what is happening in each sub area or each department area, as well as providing a description. So this really ties everything together of what happens when we meet with administrators and department chairs on what is going to happen from one year of the budget to the next. So clearly salaries and FICA and health insurance were areas of increase, and to help balance those things out, any other areas that could be reduced were. So you'll see here on the first page, we cut back on BOCES services. There may have been a service that we felt we could do in-house instead of paying BOCES to do it at a higher rate. Special education, just based on the number of kids that we've moved back into the district, we were able to reduce some of these special education tuition costs. And it goes through each building and each department area. This then covers more of the support service area. So you'll see central administration, plants and operation, transportation. There were a lot of discussion areas to align this budget, not only with our mission of the school district, but also with what is happening right now with COVID-19, and just making sure we were planning for worst case scenario. So at the bottom, you will see that the budget gap is 0, and that is because we were able to bring everything in alignment. You also will see revenue, so it will show the state aid increase down here, as well as the tax levy limit increase, which is allowable per the tax cap calculation. There is also a bus proposition. Each year there is a bus proposition. It is a second proposition for Grand Island, in which we are trying to stay on the same or similar replacement plan pertaining to our fleet. So the request this year is 3 65 passenger buses, 1 3/4 wheelchair bus, and 1 wheelchair van, as well as two Ford F-350s for the Buildings and Grounds Department. Keeping with the number of requests when it comes to vehicles, it allowed us to stay leveled. So there is not a increase here. So what this will then do is in the following year, you will see it in the area of when you're paying back debt service. So it will allow for it to be level instead of a spike. So as we're planning, we're always thinking about future years as well. And given the uncertainty of a lot of what's going on right now, we wanted to make sure we took that into consideration. This gets into the recommendations. Do you want to go over this, Dr. Graham?
Yes, thank you. So throughout the budget process, looking carefully at class sizes and listening to supervisors and principals, we identified requests that were asked to be put in the budget. On this screen now, you'll see all of those requests. Without increasing the budget, we've been able to handle these needs for our students through internal movements or reallocating grants. So for example, we have a bubble of students coming out of 5th grade going into 6th grade. The request was to add a 6th grade teacher, but that vacancy, really, that request is going to be handled internally. We've had teachers on special assignment at the district level helping with curriculum and technology, and those teachers are going back to the classroom to support the needs of our students directly in the classroom. The other item that's on this list that Dr. Harris discussed was the itinerant hearing teacher. We've been paying Erie One BOCES to cover that expense for us for several years. By examining this budget, working with Cheryl Cardone and Dr. Harris, we have identified that it's actually cheaper to hire that person than to pay the cost to BOCES to provide that service. So those are just some ways that we've been able to maintain and assist students without adding the expense to the budget. This slide demonstrates how we have made those savings through internal movements or not replacing teachers who have retired or administrators who have retired. So our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction has retired, and we're going to go ahead next year without that position. We had a reading teacher retire, and we're not going to fill that position. And additionally, as I shared earlier, teachers who are on special assignment are now going back to the classroom, and we're still able to use the federal dollars that were attributed to their long-term substitutes right directly to those teachers and not have an impact on the budget. So overall, by taking a look at all of the items that you see on the screen, we've been able to take away about $1.1 million to balance this budget.
This just provides a picture of the revenue sources. Clearly, you will see here that the large portion that is supporting the 2020-21 budgetary increase is the property tax levy on here. You will also see an adjustment here. So this is a bit new for this year, and it's called the pandemic adjustment. And that is due to a reduction in state aid that is being, I guess a good word for it, is backfilled by the federal CARES restoration funds. So you will see the pandemic adjustment shows that being taken out, and the federal CARE restoration shows it coming back in. That those are dollars that have been allocated to Grand Island. There is a process where you have to fill out an application But that is what we have been slotted thus far. As more information is made available, that will clearly be shared with the public and with the Board of Education. You'll see a slight increase in building aid, and that is simply we are finishing out phase 4. That final cost report will be filed by June 30th, so you do get a partial bump in aid. And then you will see on here that in lieu of taxes, which is pilots, we have a couple of pilots that ended, so they will go onto the tax roll, but that also means that there is a slight reduction in what we receive as revenue there. So that just sums up what the revenue side of the budget looks like in our major areas that we receive funding. This is the property tax cap calculation for the 2020-21 school year. I think some of the best things to kind of look at here to get a picture of what's happening, or that I would like to mention, is you will see the capital tax levy exclusion from last year, which is the 735, 739. And then you will see the capital tax levy exclusion for this year, which is $446,000. Those are definitely driving factors for the formula. Something that has changed in the back end of this formula is the fact that you are now able to include the BOCES capital component. So that was the first. Districts had to actually go back and make adjustments to last year's calculation to include it in this year's, but we did that. So you will see that the allowable increase is the 778,651, which is 2.26%, and that is the requested amount per the school district and board for the taxpayers. This just takes that information and kind of puts it in plain text for what it means for the average person. So the dollar change from 1920 to 2020-21, estimated dollar change, is 45 cents. And I always like to point out two things. If you have an assessed value home of 180,000 and you do not receive STAR, it's about $80.10 of an increase. But if you have an assessed value home of 180,000 and you do receive the STAR exemption, you are looking at about $66.75. It's always very important to note that the information is based off of the 1920 property assessment, because we don't know what the 2020-21 property assessed values are as of yet, but those rates will be set and approved end of July, beginning of August. This is always something important to review in reference to tying in with our district goals, which is where we currently stand for fund balance. So you will see fund balance as of March 31st, 2020, and what those different dollar amounts are. And then you will see anticipated fund balance for June 30th of 2020. Those numbers will be solidified once our external audit happens, which is usually late summer. So once that happens, these numbers will be solidified, but we do have notations here and explanations of what we anticipate happening. The $24 million capital project is already underway. So it was allowable for the capital reserve to use those funds towards the capital project. We will be using the debt service reserve to pay down on debt, which should free up funds to also assist with the capital project. And then we have our other reserve accounts and some explanations there. Usually the largest unknown is just unassigned, and that depends on how you perform from one year to the next, and any unassigned funds going from one year into the next. This allows for a quick recap. It really identifies the totals. So what our totals are for state aid, building aid, sales tax, and other revenue, and then our overarching expenditure areas, which is salary, benefits, and other costs. The thing to always note here is that the anticipated tax levy amount and the tax levy maximum amount are equal, which means we have a balanced budget and there is no difference to get to the tax cap. So in the end, our revenue and expenditures are balanced. The budget is $64,626,568 for the 2020-2021 school year.
Very
Any
good.
questions?
Let me just see if we had anybody join us during that presentation. All right, I don't see anybody from outside of our Board of Education and administrators online right now, but we'll hold just for a minute in case anybody has any questions.
While we're holding, something to definitely make sure is mentioned is that the budget newsletter will be online. It will also be sent out in the mail, but it will be online and accessible. So that allows you to see a lot of what we spoke about tonight and get some highlights on what's going on in the different buildings and what they want to share out, as well as the ballots are off in the mail finally. So people will be getting those. Everything is by ballot only, and they are due back June 9th by 5 p.m. Correct, Dr. Graham? I just want to make sure I said that correctly.
And that budget newsletter is on the is already posted on the website. So that was finalized today. And I know that's going to be mailed out by BOCES in the days ahead. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope that you are enjoying this wonderful weather. We do miss the students very much, and we look forward to some special events like graduation and things like that as we move through this unprecedented COVID-19 closure. But we thank you for your support and your interest in the budget tonight.